We are live. Welcome back to Black Belt Secrets and the Art of Law. This is a joint stream between myself and Mr. Alan Robert Shaw. However we say that, it seems to rhyme, doesn't it, Al?
Mm. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do something. We'll have to swap them around or something. Alan Robert Shaw and Black Belt Barrister. It rhymes. No, it doesn't. But,
Yeah,
we like to
exactly.
be real.
Someone said in the comments, why are you so fascinated about this thing rhyming? And so for that very reason, you're commenting on it. So we were talking just a few minutes ago about traditions and things like a curtsy and similarities with bowing when we enter a courtroom, bowing to the judge, or it's actually to the crown, isn't it? So it's all of these things are traditions that we adhere to and we all know about. And so we wanted to talk specifically about the fake curtsy that Meghan Markle was doing. Now, this is pure gossip, you understand. So this is the overlap, if you will, between law and what we really think about these things that are going on. And my personal view, I mean, Al, I don't know how much you know about this, probably not a lot, but my personal view about all this is that it was all very deliberate. It was all very over the top. It was designed to attract a lot of attention, and I think it backfired. I think they now realize that it backfired. There's nothing they can do about it. There's lots of people saying, stop talking about it, leave them alone. I think, well, they put it out in the first place by way of podcasts, books, documentaries, you name it. You can't leave that alone. You can't do that and then not expect. It's a bit like me doing a video or Al doing a video and not expecting anyone to comment on it. This is the whole point. We want you to comment on it. You might disagree with what we say. That's fine. As long as you're doing it with some basis. Don't just tell me, you're talking rubbish with no real basis for saying so. So what do you know about this, Al? First of all, this curtsy in the Netflix series, if you're familiar. If you're not familiar, I'm going to bring it up on screen for you.
Well, as you know, it was basically, we were talking about this a few minutes before we went live, and I knew absolutely zero about this, as I always do. As I've mentioned on many times, one of the major problems with my career as a media lawyer was that I never know anything that's going on in the world and things. But now Dan has very kindly informed me as to what this is about. So yeah, so well, actually, just for any viewers who don't know, my understanding is that Meghan Markle made a comment that she found it a bit strange that she'd been told when you meet Granny, you will have to curtsy. And there were all sorts of things about, I don't know how to do that. It's really awkward. And then it turned out that in a television program that she's in, because apparently she used to be an actress, she had curtsied, so she knows how to do it. So this is the big thing as to are they making a big story about this, or are they making a big fuss about this unnecessarily? And what's it all about? I mean, obviously there is all this thing because apparently Princess Margaret was a bit freaked out when her sister suddenly becomes the queen, and all of a sudden she's not your big sister anymore. She is the monarch. Walk behind her and start curtsying.
Yeah, and you would. I mean, I don't know of anybody that would question becoming a barrister, being called to the bar. You walk into the court and you bow to the judge as a representative of the crown. That's what you do. You don't question it. You don't question how you do it even. I mean, case in point, I did my training a lot more recently than you, Al. I mean, but no one at bar school or law degree or anywhere else ever tells you that's what you do. You figure it out. You go into court and you work these things out. It's a bit like finding the canteen.
Well, this is the thing. There's so many things in law that we don't tell you, because as you know, I do a lot of training for the young barristers, but you learn a lot on the job. That's the point of pupillage. I mean, in all fairness, we bow as we walk into court, but when we actually start, the judge bows back us. So that's all like a little, hey, we're all here. A couple of rules, actually. If you do walk into court, you're always expected to bow, but you should never walk in or out of a court while the judge is addressing a jury or while a witness is being sworn. That's not written down anywhere, but that's one of those things that is understood, and judges will scowl at you or give you a little raised eyebrow if you do that. If you suddenly walk into court and realise what's going on and pause, awkwardly in the doorway, weirdly, judges are cool with that because they recognise that you are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah,
so
exactly, because you didn't know. But also as well, if you're, I mean, this will be particularly interesting for, new barristers, trainee barristers, wannabe barristers, whatever you want to call yourselves. But if you're ever in, particularly the Crown Court, and I say that because in the Crown Court, you're much more likely to have, in fact, only really in the Crown Court, you're likely to have multiple barristers representing different cases, but all in court at the same time. In a civil case, you don't really get that. It's like you're in, you're out. And so parties are in, parties are out. Very occasionally, you'll get barristers for the next case come in and sitting on the very back in a civil case waiting. But in a Crown Court, it's much more normal. In fact, it's very normal to have multiple barristers for different cases. But what you'll find is if the judge is sitting, then no barrister will just get up and leave. Because you don't do that. You don't, if the judge is sitting as the barrister, you don't get up and walk out. That's considered rude. The judge will say, usually in the terms of, please don't stay, please don't let me keep you, please, if you need to be elsewhere, whatever, all sorts of different phrases. In other words, you're free to get out, but you don't just get up and walk out.
Yeah, we call that dressing the judge. And the idea is that a judge should never be just abandoned on their own in court. But as Dan says, what you do is you conspicuously, usually, especially in busy courts where you've got lots of things on a list, it's, the people lurking to jump in your spot as soon as you've finished. So it's all moving around. So the judge always has somebody. But if you're the last person there or there's nothing ready, and you sort of finish your bit, then yeah, as Dan says, just getting up and walking out is considered to be very rude. So you sit there conspicuously. And then judges will always say, "Oh, Mr. Robertshaw, please don't wait." But it's funnily enough, I tell the new barristers this, and it seems to be something that's dying out a little bit. Especially now it's all.
But
Zoom
I like those traditions and all these sort of things that keep the formality and keep it all working smoothly. But this in particular was a direct contradiction, and ironically enough, the clip that I've got to compare it with is a Nigel Farage one, who we've just made a video about. But more about that if you check the video that we'll undoubtedly link in the description below. But this was the rendition that she gave in the Netflix series, and overly. This is playing back my own video talking about it, so there's obviously a lot of pause in between. But this was the very deliberate rendition that she gave, like this. And she's laughing, she's joking, she's smiling, and then she looks around at Harry as if to say, I know that was really embarrassing. I know that was really insulting. Almost like looking at him as if to say, don't be angry with me. Because, you can tell by the very sort of purse tightness on his face. I don't know if you can actually, hopefully you can see that. He doesn't know what to say there. He's obviously embarrassed by that. And he doesn't know what to say. She's obviously looking at him as if to say, don't be angry with me for doing this. I know it's embarrassing. But then this is the one that everyone's been comparing it with. This was from, was it season or episode 2 of Suits? Where she did know how to do it, clearly, because this was years before. What she was saying the inference was from the Netflix was that she didn't know how to do it. So she was like, is this how you do it? And making out that she's supposed to learn some archaic, silly tradition and ridiculing it. Whereas, in fact, that was her, as pulled out by Nigel Farage on GB News, she knew exactly how to do this. And here it is again. So, albeit rather understated, quite clearly understood it. So, as someone who knew probably much less than you now do about this, Al, what do you think about that, the contradiction between those two?
Well, yes, is it a previous inconsistent statement, as we would say? This is the sort of thing that, fictional court cases turn on all the time, isn't it? It's like, well, you said you couldn't do this, but now we have this evidence showing that you actually did know what this was about. That actually cropped up in the real case, in the quiz show scandals. The fact that somebody gave a wrong answer on a quiz show where there was evidence of the fact that they'd known that thing. They actually did know that fact. This has had serious repercussions in the past, because we'll have to do something on the quiz show scandals for the media law, because that was all very interesting stuff. But yeah, with this particular thing, I suppose the argument is, well, actually, I'm just acting there and I'm being directed and I could have had as many takes. And in a fast-moving TV show, which I'm guessing that it suits, isn't it? If it was weekly, you hear about people who did weekly TV shows and they say they can barely remember doing them because it was just the lead time, the rehearsal time, the filming time. They said a lot of the time they're just in a blur. So I suppose that would be the argument that, oh, well, I might have done it once under direction, but I've completely forgotten about it. And I suppose meeting the Queen is quite a big thing because, here's a quiz question. What does the
Mm.
Queen have in common with the Ramones? The answer is, on numerous occasions, I had the opportunity to see both of them, and on every occasion went, oh, I'll do it next time. And I really regret that because I never got to see the Queen, or I never got to see the Ramones live. And I've literally, on a couple of occasions, been at the venue when they've been playing, but I've been in the bar catching up with friends, and we're going, should we go in and watch them? And it's like, well, we'll catch them next time. So there you go. But yeah, there are these weird little sort of courtesy things. I mean, is it, how huge a thing is it? I mean, the Queen apparently was fairly cool about these sorts of things, and there's loads of like little,
Mm.
etiquette slips, like people putting their hands on her, and people walking in front of her, that she personally was all perhaps less concerned about
Mm.
than some of her
Than other people.
entourage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and apparently she was, she liked her family. She wasn't. I think because of the fact that she had got the job sort of by accident because of what happened with her father, and what happened with her father. I think it's always difficult to know. She's a very private person, but I always got the impression that she was perhaps less concerned about some of the formalities. She took it on as
Mm.
trust that she had to preserve the royal family and make it relevant, and I think the one word everybody says about the Queen is duty. So she certainly was the Queen, and she did all the Queen stuff properly, and she fulfilled all her obligations. But it does seem that she was slightly less concerned about
Yeah.
other people. I mean, there's that great story with her security guy when they were up in Balmoral, and somebody bumped into them and said, to her, when she found out she said, I live in the area, they said, have you ever met the Queen? And she said, no, but he has. So so she was quite a funny woman. I honestly don't
Yeah.
think. I think the Queen would be a lot less bothered about this than
Mm.
the commentators. I think she would have been bothered about the fact that the strains in the family, because she had to live
Oh
through
yeah.
all the Diana and Charles thing, and indeed Princess Anne and Mark Philip. So
Yeah,
you
she
know,
would not have wanted this. And I think all done and said, you know, she'd be the first to sort of unwind all this and say let's just brush it all away and everybody be friendly again, because that's how she
yeah,
was. And I've heard lots of stories from others that have met her that have said that that she had a great sense of humor. So whilst everyone else was all on tenterhooks with the formalities and traditions and everything else, she would go along to them, particularly soldiers, many of whom I've met and trained with our army training type stuff, and have said that she would say, aren't you supposed to hold it like this? Aren't you supposed to do that? And of course they're like terrified. Oh my God, I'm doing something wrong, when obviously they're not. She's just had the sense of humor, and
well, because she was in
those are
the
their memories.
forces, she's allowed
Yeah,
to comment because she served
yeah,
herself, and apparently was a mechanic and then ambulance driver.
yeah. So there we are. Those are thoughts on the contradiction between the Netflix version and the Suits version. So yeah, you think that's a fair comment. Under direction, under many takes, that could just be one of those things that she forgot about. And overall, I agree with you, Al. I don't think the Queen would have thought very much of that, but
No.
I think she'd have thought more of the sentiment behind it, because I think there was a clear sentiment behind it, which I starkly disagree with. I'm not pleased about that, but there we go. Let me know in the comments what you think, or let us know. We're on both channels. Hopefully you subscribing to both channels, Secrets here and The Art of Law. Make sure you subscribe to both. Make sure you hit the like button on both channels. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Al. We'll see you again soon.
I'm just my little curtsy.